Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Two Friends Fighting. I am Robbie.
I am Jackson. What's up, everybody?
Today we have a few things to cover. We want to talk about the fights last weekend we talked about between Glover Teixeira and Thiago Santos. We want to address some topics some comments we got from our previous video on the top 5 UFC GOATs, our personal picks.
Yeah, a lot of people sending in comments.
We actually had a good response.
A lot of people have their own opinions about who the top 5 should be. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was good. And then we'll close it off with our actual topic, something we want to talk about today, which is about the COVID-19 pandemic on gyms, because York Region, Peel, and Ottawa gyms opened last Saturday, the 7th, and Toronto gyms going to open up this Saturday, the 14th. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about how the face of the fitness industry has really changed due to this whole kind of thing.
It's pretty wild now, eh? Wild times for sure.
There's new things that did not exist 7-8 months ago in March.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like the way people worked out 7-8 months ago back in March.
Yeah. Even
completely different, right?
The way gyms are operating, it's crazy.
I mean, life as we know it is absolutely changed.
Absolutely. Oh, so the face of everything, not just the fitness industry has changed. Mm-hmm. But going on that note, we realized that whoever we pick for fights, mostly, especially Jackson, do not pick that person, because
let's get into that.
He's what now, 0-4 for his picks?
Okay, so on the actual podcast, yes, I am 0-4 on the picks. Seems like every other pick that I make, though, like if I don't put it out on the podcast, every other pick that I'm making seems to come out true. And I know none of you believe me because you haven't heard it here on the podcast. Yeah. But yeah, it seems like all the main events and even the co-main events that I'm picking on the podcast seem to be losing. So
we both thought that Thiago Santos would dummy Glover Teixeira because he was younger, bigger. We thought he was more athletic, but
so if you missed it, so Thiago Santos fought Glover Teixeira over the weekend on this past Saturday that just happened. But what happened is. Oh man, Robbie, do you want to sort of break this down? It was
basically he was doing really well. He landed some big heavy shots, rocked Glover pretty badly, and goes in for his famous ground and pound, but can't finish it because Glover's pretty tough. Couldn't finish it, and every single time got turned over onto his back and couldn't get back up.
Man, Robbie and I were messaging back and forth. Like I was just saying, man, how bad is Thiago Santos' takedown defense?
He had nothing for Glover's jiu-jitsu or his wrestling.
He didn't stop a single takedown.
He couldn't get back up. Like he couldn't keep top control, dominant position, and he was landing big shots, and Glover was able to reverse it to the point where in round 2, Glover had him in a good choke. Thiago was saved by the bell. Yeah, and you would think going into round 3 he would be
completely saved by the bell. Like exactly. The rear naked choke was like fully sunk in. He was just about to tap, I'm sure, too.
Yeah. And the bell rang, went to round 3. And you would think like Santos would be like more wary of that choke because he's going for it.
Well,
right?
What happens is I'm like, okay, you know what? He survived that rear naked choke, and what does he do? Completely rocks Glover again in the third round.
Yeah. I thought, oh my God, this is it.
Follows him to the ground, starts hitting him a little bit. I'm like, Thiago, stand up, dude. Don't engage in the ground game. Then he starts landing some good ground and pound shots. So I'm like, okay, maybe he knows what he's doing. 5 seconds later, he gets flipped over, like completely reversed. In a matter of 5 seconds, he was almost knocking the guy out, finishing him with ground and pound, to flipped over, reversed, then he wound up in a rear naked choke.
In that same choke. You'd think he'd be more aware of it, but the choke that didn't get him in round 2 eventually got him in round 3. I was like, oh my God, he was the favorite to win.
Yeah.
He gave both these guys had fought John Jones, and I think Santos had given Jones a better fight, so you would have thought he would be like the person to win. But and Glover had it.
If you saw the post-fight interview with Glover Teixeira, he's like, man, this guy lives up to his nickname. Thiago Santos' nickname is Marreta, and Marreta in Portuguese means the sledgehammer. And he said, Glover Teixeira said, this guy, every single shot he threw felt like a sledgehammer. He said, oh, my face feels like there are broken bones in it.
Jeez. Well, I mean, kudos to him for
He
being
hits
like
so hard, but he has no takedown defense, no jiu-jitsu. The guy, like,
he needs to at least up his ground and pound. But kudos to Glover for being able to like take that.
Yeah, kudos to him
and withstand
for sure.
it and reverse it. So kudos, Glover.
There were a couple times that we were almost right, though.
Yeah,
a couple times we were almost right in our prediction.
I thought it was over like 3 times, but I was wrong.
Yep.
Yeah. So
we also picked the co-main event. You were actually right about that one. You picked Arlovsky.
Yeah.
He was fighting a guy that I had actually never heard of, but I picked the other guy because I just don't think too highly of Andrei Arlovsky at this point in his career. But
I actually wanted Arlovsky to lose when I realized that the guy who was fighting was from Canada. I was like, oh shit, a Canadian guy, awesome.
Yeah, I found out that he was Canadian too, and he lost.
Typical, because he had like the missing tooth and like the hockey mullet. And I was like, oh come on, man.
You know what? When I actually saw them in the ring, I'm like, you know what? I think I'm actually going to be right. The guy looked like in better shape. Tanner Bozer, he looked like he was in better shape than Arlovsky, but I think it's just the curse of the Jackson predictions.
Yeah. So at least I'm like half right sometimes, give or take.
Yeah.
So
I'm just always wrong. So if you're looking to make money, pick whoever I don't.
So kudos to Arlovsky for holding it. Actually, both these guys holding it down in their 40s.
Yeah.
Arlovsky and Glover holding it down at 40 and 41 years old.
There's actually a fight tomorrow as well, right? It's going to be Rafael dos Anjos.
On Saturday.
Yeah. It's going to be tomorrow from when
this podcast is released. Truly true. So November 14th, which is tomorrow if you're listening to this when it's released.
On Friday.
Rafael dos Anjos is fighting Islam
Makhachev.
Thank you, I couldn't say it properly.
I think Islam Makhachev is a buddy of Khabib's, actually.
Yeah, that was a big part of the previews. So that's what they're see why Khabib's so famous. Now guys are getting hyped behind them by training with them.
Yeah. I don't know a whole lot about Makhachev. I think I've seen him fight a couple of times. It's kind of hard to remember like all these guys from Dagestan because they all look the same. They're all like in the same weight class. They all have like the buzzed head with the beard.
But he's 18-1, so clearly he's doing something right.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any sort of predictions? Like any idea?
I haven't seen dos Anjos fight in a while, and I'm gonna ride the Khabib train and pick Islam.
I'm gonna pick Islam too.
Okay,
so there you have it.
So basically,
Rafael
guys,
dos Anjos
is definitely gonna win this thing.
But I am gonna pick Islam Makhachev.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Maybe this is breaking the curse. We'll see.
We'll see.
So that's our breakdown of Glover's upset. Kudos again to Glover for proving both of us wrong and giving people above 40, hope for.
Yeah, I think he's like 41.
He's 41. It's crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
In regards to that actual video of our top 5 UFC GOATs, we had a lot of comments, and once again, guys, thank you for reaching out to us and giving your opinions.
A lot of people do have different opinions, right, about the top 5. So we had some thoughts that. We had one comment from a friend. He was saying, "What do you think about PEDs, performance-enhancing drugs? Do you not think that should sort of negate any possibility in being in the top 5?" And if we look at both of our lists, we both had guys who had popped for some sort of performance-enhancing drug, right? I had Anderson Silva on my top 5 and John Jones. I think that was. Yeah, those were the only 2 that popped.
And Anderson Silva as well.
Anderson Silva.
And I don't think anyone else.
You were a hater, so you didn't have John Jones.
I think in that scenario, though, like in terms of disqualification, obviously if they get popped, they either don't actually fight that night, which is basically disqualification, and they get banned for a bit, or they fight that night, but they lose some of their purse or something like that, their fight purse.
Yeah, but I think that's a pretty valid question to raise, right? Like, if you're talking about performance-enhancing drugs, basically you're saying that these guys are cheating. Do you think cheaters should be allowed on your top 5? And you know what? That's a good question.
Yeah, it's a very good question. And I think the only way to really answer it properly is to look at the person themselves, because not everyone, even John Jones, when he was knowingly juicing, or when he claimed that he didn't know certain things. So you have to look at that person who did get popped. And I'm not sure if there's a way to do this, like, subjectively or objectively, but figure out, like, did this person do it, like, knowingly, right? Because sometimes someone can give you like a certain drink and maybe the contents in it, like there's a whole lot of things.
I think you should definitely take into consideration whether or not they were cleared of any sort of wrongdoing. Like, I know Yoel Romero, for example, right? He was taking some tainted supplement, but he got popped for some some sort of performance enhancing drug. He said, no, I didn't take anything. And they actually tested the performance and the supplement that he was taking, and they found out it was tainted. So actually his name was cleared of any wrongdoing.
Exactly, and that's I think what's
Right?
that should be like addressed. Like, does the fighter, maybe he's sponsored by a company who's not fully honest with them? I mean, it is also the athletes in any sports job to really do their research, or maybe it's their team's job to do that research for them. Like that's why these people have like companies who manage them and get sponsors for them and figure that out, right? Because it is 100% possible that maybe you're unaware of something like that. So I think if you can generally catch someone in the act of cheating, like, and they knowingly are taking steroids, and you can figure that out, then yeah, they should probably be excluded from the top
So
five.
what about Anderson Silva then?
I don't remember actually if he knew he was doing it, but I feel like he probably, in my opinion, based on who I think he is as a person, I think he did it by accident.
Okay.
But like, because like the way he talks and the way he is with the family, I could be wrong though. I could absolutely be wrong. Again, I think he came back enough times clean.
The thing is like, if you're cheating, you're already like kind of a liar, right? You're lying about cheating. Then you get caught. You have a choice to make. Are you gonna continue to lie? Oh, I didn't know that I was doing that. I didn't know how that got in my system. Or you can take the upfront route and try to be honest about it. But even like the honesty, when you try to be honest, like TJ Dillashaw, for example, he popped for steroids against Henry Cejudo. And he said, oh, it was only the one time that he used it to help him lose weight. But how do we know, right? Like, you could have been using it every fight since your pro debut, right? Yeah.
And a lot of fighters also know how to like cycle off at a certain point based on when testing is. That's why I really like the idea of like random testing.
And guys that he had trained with, Cody Garbrandt, actually claimed that he was taking some sort of performance enhancing drug before that fight.
Maybe, although I hate Cody Garbrandt, so I'll ignore whatever he says.
Well, he was saying that TJ was using it throughout his career, right?
Honestly, yeah. If you, like I said, in that scenario, like, I like the way TJ fights because I like his coach, so I like to watch his style and how he moves. But that's why I didn't put him in my top 5, because if it's confirmed that he's knowingly doing this again and again and again, then yeah, like, you're obviously not as good as you would be if you were a clean athlete. But again, I think if you're caught using PEDs and you generally did it by accident and had no idea because your team didn't do the research, or maybe you were negligent and didn't do the research on a certain supplement you were taking, whatever it be, then yeah, then you should maybe be clear like Yoel Romero was, because it's confirmed that he was not knowingly trying to enhance his performance. He was just taking a supplement that he thought would like help him in a clean scenario.
Yeah, exactly.
Because everyone uses supplements at a high level. Protein powder, BCAAs, pre-workout, whatever, right? If there's no performance enhancing drugs in there, go for it. And if you take that because it's part of your regimen, because you got to stay healthy, awake, recover properly from workouts, it's a big part of the game, especially when you get to the elite levels. Who knows what people can put in there?
There's the idea that Francis Ngannou, one of the top heavyweights in the world in the UFC,
like a truck,
he actually refuses to take protein powder because he's so afraid that he might get caught for some sort of tainted supplement.
Honestly, I think that might be a smart choice because, like I said, you have to know exactly what you're taking. And honestly, I'm not sure what the schedule of UFC fighter is like, between like probably like supporting their sponsors, training, doing press conference tours. It might be a lot of work, and to do research on that, if he doesn't trust in the product, then probably the better choice.
It might be. Another comment that we got about our top 5 is that we didn't have any women on our list.
We are not sexist. We're gonna explain why 100%.
And Robbie, you take that one.
Honestly, I think that I love watching women's fights 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Some
of these women, and I am a man enough to admit it, these women in the UFC can kick my ass, and I am not saying I absolutely no way in hell could I beat these women. They are high level for a reason. I think based on certain our criteria, like yours was a lot of like title defenses, fights, certain things. Mine was like their fame outside the UFC. The only few women to reach like the level of fame that changed the face of the women's sports would be like Gina Carano and Ronda Rousey. Personally, I am not a fan of Ronda Rousey after her last few performances, so I didn't include her because again, that's kind of my bias.
She didn't really face defeat properly, right?
No, she did not.
Part of being a champion, a lot of people a lot of people believe, is that you have to sort of come back from adversity, right? What happened to her when she lost? She lost to Holly Holm. She disappeared for like a year.
She took 14 months off.
Didn't even face the media.
She went ghost. Absolutely.
Was obviously not a good sport. Like part of winning, like you have to be a good winner, but you also have to be a good loser.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Humble in defeat, humble in victory. I absolutely agree. And she was off 14 months, came back to fight for the title against Amanda Nunes, who destroyed her. But if you remember that fight,
and then disappeared, never fought again.
Yeah,
didn't answer the media. Didn't say, I'll be back from this.
She's in WWE now.
Yeah,
or at least she was. I'm not sure if she still isn't anymore. But and like all the promotions about her fight with Nunes after a year and 2 months off, it was all about, Ronda Rousey's back. She's gonna get the title back. Like Amanda Nunes was the champion at the time.
Yeah.
But she got almost zero media attention because it was all Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
But Ronda Rousey didn't give anything back. And just therefore kind of lost.
Did no pre-fight interviews.
Yeah.
I think she might have done like one or two, and she hand selected who she wanted to be interviewed by.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She's very prestige. Like she kind of started believing her own hype and then behaved like a champion should, in my opinion.
But like on the counter side of that, like she did so much for women's MMA.
Absolutely, she did.
Right,
100%.
Dana White, the president of the UFC, he's been on the record saying that she was the one who convinced him to bring women's MMA to the UFC.
Yeah, and I think she paved the road for a lot of women, 100%, at least in the UFC. But if you're gonna do all that, why would you just give it all up after losing?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So everyone loses. Yes, she was undefeated until Holly Holm. So I understand.
Not everyone. Khabib didn't lose.
That's you make a good point.
The rare few.
Yeah. But it depends. I feel like even if Khabib did lose, he probably would have handled it better.
Yeah.
Based on his mentality.
Absolutely.
Gina Carano is the other one because she was like probably like the Ronda Rousey before Ronda Rousey. And the only reason why she wasn't on my list because her fame actually has transcended the UFC. She was in she's been in a movie.
She's in The Mandalorian right now.
She's in The Mandalorian, yeah. I just watched the episodes. She was also in the first Deadpool movie, which
she was
killed it. Yeah, so she's been making waves outside the UFC, and a lot of people know her. And she was like kind of the one who also inspired Ronda Rousey. And the only reason why she wasn't on my list was because probably reasons very similar to yours. She didn't really fight in the UFC, didn't really have much held defenses.
Well, there's also just a thing about being like there's good, great, and then like exceptional. And even you can go beyond exceptional and be the top 5. There can be like the sixth person in the top, like if you're doing the top 10, 6 through 10 are still going to be exceptional fighters.
Absolutely exceptional fighters.
Right? But there's only 5 spots in the top 5.
Yeah.
So no matter how good Gina Carano was, or Chris Cyborg, or Ronda Rousey, or Valentina Shevchenko, Amanda Nunes, like there could be an argument for putting her in the top 5.
Getting up there.
She beat Cyborg. She beat Rousey. She beat Tate.
She beat Holly Holm.
She beat Holm too.
Yeah. Right? She's beaten pretty much everybody.
She's beaten everybody.
Now that's someone who can easily kick my ass. Can destroy me.
Right? So, I mean, there's definitely an argument for putting Amanda Nunes in the top 5.
I think the reason
it's hard to do though, right? Like comparing cross gender is very, very difficult to do.
Yeah, and you're going to come off in a bad way. And what I might say right now might come off in a bad way, but we'll see. A big reason why, and maybe this is why you didn't put her in your top 5 list, because your list was based on like records and defense and all that stuff. There are a lot less female fighters than there are male fighters. And therefore, that's why if you see women in the UFC at the highest level of the sport, you'll see their records are like 1-4 or like 2-1. They have like only a few, like less than 10 professional fights, but they're in the UFC because there are not a lot of UFC fighters who are female. So they kind of have I don't want to say easier road to get there, because we all know that women have a hard time in a lot of things, and they're awesome. They deserve equal rights as all men do.
Coming off pretty sexist right now, right?
100%. Absolutely. But this is just my opinion, at least in terms of female MMA. They are able to get into the UFC a lot faster than a lot of the men are.
I mean, like, look at some of the women in the UFC with their records. Like some of the women in the UFC we were talking about before the podcast. I don't want to name names, but some women in the UFC are solely there for their looks. Their records, like one of the records we looked at today was like 4 wins, 5 losses.
Yeah. It's hard. You'll be hard pressed to find someone in the UFC
that has that record.
Yeah, when your losses are more than your wins, you're probably not going to be in the UFC anymore, right? But
you would never make it to the UFC.
Exactly, and you have to have at least more than 10 professional fights, right? Like
most of the time, yeah.
Yeah, like you definitely have to be like really, really good if you're in the UFC with less than 10 pro fights.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless your amateur record is just absolutely stellar.
But if we did have to name like a top 5, so let's just maybe separate it, right? Like we have top 5 men and maybe top 5 women.
Yep, I can do that.
Who might be on your top 5 women list?
My number 5 would probably be Zhang Weili, the current.
We haven't even planned this one out ahead of time, so this is kind of impromptu.
Zhang Weili, she changed the face of like Asian mixed martial arts, especially for women.
I think it might be easier to go from number 1, just because we haven't planned it out ahead. Like I think number 1 for me, I don't know how you can rearrange this, but Amanda Nunes has to be on number 1.
She's my number 1 as well, based on what she's currently doing. And if you see what he's doing in Brazil, like with the community and all that stuff, based on her, like what she's using her fame for, 100%.
Yeah, she's the first openly gay champion too, right?
Yep, yes she is.
Yeah.
Her fiance or wife is also a UFC fighter, a different weight class.
Yeah, Nina Ansaroff.
Must be sparring must be fun for them.
That must be fun.
That's just two men talking about it too, of course.
Shut up, Robbie.
Yes, for real. I'm gonna get so sued for this.
Number 2
for me would probably actually have to be Valentina Shevchenko.
Yes,
she's phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. I was debating maybe Cyborg, maybe a Ronda Rousey, but I got to go with Valentina Shevchenko over number 2.
When she knocked
she had 2 fights with Amanda Nunes, which is honestly like Nunes is fighting at 145 now too.
Yeah.
Valentina's down at 125, and she, like, a lot of people thought that she won like either one of those fights.
Valentina is absolutely amazing. She has multiple Muay Thai championships as well.
Yeah.
And when she fought Jessica Ai for the title, or defending her title, that head kick knockout, I thought Jessica Ai was dead. Yeah. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's crazy.
Killer, absolute killer.
Really good.
So far we're on par, 1 and 2. Yeah. Amanda Nunes, Valentina Shevchenko. Who do you got number 3?
I would put my number 3 at Gina Carano. Yes, she was probably. Maybe she was in the UFC for a bit, but again, this is based on my criteria because like you'll see her. She's known for being like a woman, like one of the first female fighters and first advocates for that made it to that level of fame. And now she's doing a lot of like TV and movies. Like, so her fame kind of transcends that, and a lot of people know who she is.
Would have liked to see her fight in the UFC though.
Yeah, I would have loved to see her fight Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
I think it would have been like, that would have been a major sellout.
Yeah, for me, I think I got to go number 3. This is a tough one.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go with Ronda Rousey. Okay. Despite what we said about her like not facing the music after her loss, I think I got to put her there just because what she did for women's MMA. Like, she brought a lot of eyeballs to the sport. A lot of women started like before, like you could say like the UFC is a male dominated sport before that time, right?
Yes, absolutely.
But she brought in so many women into the sport that had no idea what mixed martial arts was. All of a sudden, this girl starts ripping people's arms off with arm bars, right? And she brings a whole new set of eyeballs to the sport, which is fantastic. And like Dana said, she did bring women's MMA to the UFC, right?
Yeah, she did.
So I got to put her at number 3.
She did a lot. That's true. Number 4 for me would have to be Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Okay. Because she's just an absolute killer, and she's got the heart of a warrior, man. Her striking is phenomenal.
She does.
She also fought Valentina Shevchenko a lot in Muay Thai. I believe Valentina ended up beating her a lot in Muay Thai.
Yes, she did. And she beat her in the UFC too.
Yeah. But her striking is good. She keeps coming back. Even after the loss she had in her last fight. Look it up. She looked like Frankenstein. Her forehead was like it was like a balloon. It was like out to. Oh my god.
She looked like an alien. Like, she actually looked like an alien. Like, her head was swollen up to like here.
Yeah, it was freaky.
Right?
I was like, Joe Rogan, no, don't interview her. Poor girl. Don't put her on camera. Jesus, bring her to the hospital.
Well, you could see that after the fight, she was kind of embarrassed by it. Like, she was trying to hide her head.
I would be too. Her head grew so much. Also, go to the hospital.
Some people thought she won that fight against.
It was very close.
Zhang Weili.
Yeah.
Number 4 for me, I got to go Chris Cyborg.
Okay.
I think she just has, like, her record speaks for itself. She just has so many wins. And even the fight against Nunes, Yeah, she lost pretty quickly, but I would have liked to see that fight get run back. I would have liked to see it get run back, just because it ended so quickly. I feel like Cyborg was being a little bit too careless in that fight. I feel like if she fought up more, maybe she like underestimated Amanda Nunes.
Yeah.
I think so. I think if she comes back in and she doesn't underestimate her this time, she knows that Nunes has the power. I thought maybe she could have done it a little bit better.
I feel like there's definitely
maybe she'd still lose. I think
yeah.
like if I had to put a bet on it, I would have picked Nunes, which means Cyborg would have won. So
you never know. Yeah, I think a rematch is always necessary in some of those cases, especially when people are at that kind of level.
Yeah.
But I think basically Cyborg just retired after that fight. So who knows? Maybe he was so dominant that she was like.
Didn't she go to Bellator? I think she did.
Oh, maybe she did. I don't watch Bellator enough.
Yeah.
My number 5 is Zhang Weili, just because I feel like even though she beat Joanna, you'd think I'd put her a little bit higher, but Joanna kind of shot through the fame a little bit faster.
She has more longevity in the sport too. Like she's been there for a little bit longer. More title defenses.
Exactly. But Zhang Weili, good for her, because I think the first Asian.
I think she's the first Chinese champion.
First Chinese champion in the UFC, let alone for women. Yeah, she's definitely changing the face of women's MMA for not only Asian communities but women everywhere because of the way, like I love watching her in stare downs because she's not that good at English. So everyone's trying to like talk bad to her, like kind of figure her out, but she doesn't know what they're saying, so just smiling and kicks their ass.
Well, she knows that they're like talking trash, but she just goes, I don't understand you.
Yeah, I don't get it.
She learned that much in English to say, I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah, that's all you need to know. And that'll throw everyone's game off.
Number 5 for me has got to be, I'm going to go towards your number 4. I'm going to go Joanna. Joanna Jędrzejczyk, the Polish warrior.
Yeah, I don't even know what her fight name is anymore.
She used to call herself she called herself like the JJ champion or something like that. Joanna champion. That's what they used to call her.
Okay.
That's her nickname, but she's not champion anymore. You can't really call her that, right?
No, you can't. She might come back though. Who knows?
But yeah, I think for her, like was she the first strawweight champion? I think so. No. Claudia Gadelha. No, not Claudia Gadelha. Carla Esparza.
Yeah, she was, and then she lost to Joanna.
Yeah.
Then Joanna
She
lost.
just won it by because they had like the tournament in the Ultimate Fighter, right?
She beat Rose Namajunas, and then
she did.
Joanna beat her, and then Namajunas came back and destroyed Joanna. Oh, so good for Rose. We probably should have included Rose.
Yeah, maybe
somewhere.
we should have included Rose.
To be honest, I've kind of forgot
she lost
about her.
to Andrade, and then she left.
Yeah, she kind of.
So really, she only has like those 2 wins over Joanna.
Yeah.
Which could be enough, I guess.
I mean, she did well in really awesome fashion. I don't know. I feel like I said something.
There are a couple like other women that we left out too, like Holly Holm.
Yeah,
like
there's more really good fighters, and
Jermaine Durandamy.
And maybe my argument earlier about like women getting in the UFC is not necessarily easier because maybe the reason they have less pro fights because there are less females, so maybe they have a hard time getting fights. Maybe we don't know how long they've been grinding to get fights and training for years, but only fought so many times because there weren't that many opponents. So yeah, that's definitely a factor that I didn't consider when I made my previous statement.
Yeah, I think one thing that's really great about the UFC though is that women are getting paid like close to, if not the same as men are, right?
Ronda Rousey was definitely making more than a lot of the guys, that's for sure.
If you look at any other sport other than maybe tennis, what sport are we seeing? Like women's basketball, they're not getting paid what the men's basketball players
not even
are
close.
Paid,
it's actually robbery.
Right? Hockey, same thing.
Yeah, it's a very unfortunate. And that's why I like MMA, because like it's literally depending on you as a person, not necessarily your gender. Yeah. Because like go back to Ronda Rousey, she became very, very famous based on winning all the time, and then was probably making a lot more than a lot of the guys in the UFC.
Yeah.
And if you see her on The Ultimate Fighter, sometimes she was kicking some of their asses too, right? So it's definitely not a very it's definitely an opportunity for women, especially nowadays, to like really make some bank. You have to have that marketable personality, which a lot of them don't. I mean, unfortunately, it is still like it can be sometimes a really sexual thing because like the pretty ones get more money or something like that, or they get more famous and they get more money.
It goes back to the old saying that sex sells, right?
Yeah,
sex sells all the time. Even looking at men, right? Who are people going to be more likely to watch? Like a good-looking guy who's a champion, or maybe like a guy who, I don't know, lost all of his teeth and like is missing an eyeball.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Maybe more guys will tune in to fight a good-looking Conor McGregor than a big ugly Glover Teixeira, you know.
That's right.
No offense, Glover. Please don't hurt me. But like even Thiago Santos is a bit better looking than Glover was.
That's right.
Again, Glover, don't hurt me. I mean, you won, so whatever. But like, people would probably pick Santos to win.
Yeah,
just based on how he looks. Like, he's better build, the taller.
It's just marketing, right? Marketing 101, right?
Absolutely.
You want to have something attractive to sell. Oh, look at this guy, he's handsome. Look at this girl, she's beautiful, right?
Yeah. Look at how this guy's built, or look how this girl's built. Like, her face is amazing. She doesn't get hit that much because she's so pretty.
Yeah.
You know?
And then there's some just absolute savages out there that sell just based off of how good they are.
Yeah.
Right? Amanda Nunez, she's...
You saying she's not pretty? Because use your words.
I'm saying that she's an absolute savage. That's what I'm saying. I think that she's selling based on how like big of a boss she is. She's just an absolute boss of the women's division.
And she puts people down. Like, sure,
right?
She got hands.
Yeah, like Tony Ferguson too.
Look up her highlight reel.
Tony Ferguson, like that guy had to like grind it out. He just built a name for himself of being a total savage.
Yep, absolutely. Right? Not the best looking guy, but goddamn, he'll throw down with you.
Oh, you don't think Tony Ferguson did?
I do not. His ears are
Watch your words.
His ears are like out to here. Yeah, it's different. Making fun of a guy.
Yeah.
So that's our opinion. Hopefully you don't think we're sexist about women's MMA. We love watching it, and we think that women deserve as much, if not more, attention. If you do think that
Robbie's sexist, make sure to at him.
Yeah. Bash me in the comments. I probably deserve it.
Yeah. But let's so we're gonna change gears a little bit now, right, Robbie?
Let's talk about something that's affecting both of us in our training, and me so more like in my like financial career. It's like the opening of gyms across the GTA. Like we said, York region, Ottawa, and Peel region opened up last Saturday with their gyms and dining restaurants as well.
Yeah.
Toronto comes back out of that phase, or their new coloring, their color level restriction phases this Saturday, November 14th. And the face of the fitness industry has definitely changed dramatically in terms of like people are now working out virtually through Zoom, through classes, or they're finding full routines on YouTube. They're downloading some free or paid fitness apps that they like. I have one as well. If you guys want to download, it's called MosFit. Check it out. I get workouts to you guys every single day, different programs.
So that's sort of what we want to get into, right? Is like, okay, with gyms reopening, what's the common sentiment out there? Like, what are people going to turn to? Are they going to maybe go back to their old gym memberships? Are they worried about catching COVID in a gym? Are they thinking of, maybe the gyms are going to close down again? I have to be more self-sufficient at home and maybe develop a home gym. Like, what's going on right now in these uncertain times?
I personally believe in all these uncertain times, everyone should be ready to work out at home all the time. I think it's a great substitute if you can't go to the gym, whether it's closed or not. That being said, I don't think the gym should have closed down again in the first place, because if you look at the stats, even across Peel and Toronto, gyms are only responsible for like 3% of the COVID cases. You can get into conspiracy theories about COVID and whatever else, but I feel like closing gyms down right away was the wrong choice, and I feel like there's other places that have to be more addressed, namely schools. I mean, yes, you can't close down the schools all the time. It's unfortunate. Yeah. Got to be careful, obviously.
It's obviously a tough spot to be in, right? A tough spot to be in either way.
I just feel bad for gym owners trying to make ends meet, and the government's just blocking off their main stream of revenue. The smart gyms, obviously, like they've invested heavily into virtual and Zoom classes and are keeping their membership alive. Yeah. But that's another thing that's changed. Like there's a lot of different software companies. Like my Instagram is like every couple of times I get an ad for a new gym software to monitor and like provide workouts for clients or monitor like your gym membership and all that stuff. Like,
but I think it's hurting people either way, because I think that, like, why did people go to gyms before COVID?
Well, to get in better shape, and some people need it for therapy. I think there's going to be like 3 different kinds of people from this.
So before you get into that, I think to get in better shape for therapy. But why not? Why did people not work out at home beforehand?
There could be a lot of different reasons. Maybe they have families and they have young kids running around at home. They can't deal with it.
So there's absolutely a bunch of different reasons, right? Some people like to go to the gym to like we've talked about in the past, hold themselves accountable, right? When you go to the gym, you have to work out.
Yep.
If you're at home, maybe it's a little bit harder to just say, okay, I'm just going to work out like right here beside my TV and my sofa.
It's hard to keep motivated. I agree. So that's why there's going to be probably these three kinds of people. The ones who come November 14th in Toronto cannot wait to go back. They'll be like lined up, ready to go. They probably have their appointments booked because things have changed now. You can't just go whenever you want. You got to book your time slot.
Those are the people that are going to be dedicated no matter what.
Exactly. They need the gym. They love the gym. They don't have things at home, or maybe they do, but they love the gym environment. They need to be accountable. They have to go somewhere different to work out. There'll be also the people who want to go back to the gym but are scared, and they probably have a good reason.
Scared, or maybe it just doesn't feel the same because the gym's not as busy. Maybe people like a busier gym.
Exactly. Whether it's the vibe or you're nervous for a loved one who might be a higher risk.
Yeah, or like you're just in an environment where you have a bunch of people trying to chase a similar goal to you, right? Like, all these people are like working out. They're trying to be fit, and you want to share that same vibe, right?
You got your gym buddies. You know? And then there would be the third kind of people who probably will never go back to the gym. They maybe they didn't go in the first place, or maybe they did, but they love working out from home. They're like, oh man, this is so much better than anything. I can work out here, and then the shower's right there, or the kitchen's right there. I just sit down and watch TV right after I'm done. And those people are able to keep themselves motivated though. They're able to keep themselves accountable all the time. Yeah,
but there's also going to be, like you mentioned, so I guess maybe that fourth kind of person that you were also getting into that just might not even work out, period, right? They lost all motivation to work out. I can't work out from home. There's a lot of people that just have that sentiment. I can't work out from home. I don't have the space. I don't get in the right mood, the right mindset, which some of those are fair concerns, right?
Absolutely. And I've had that before too. Like I couldn't work out from home until I was forced to. I found my ways around it to make workouts interesting. Which is why I was able to maintain it. But not everyone can do that, right? Not everyone can make workouts for themselves, right? Like, so it's definitely a different game, and there's gonna be those different kind of people. So I feel like gyms will definitely suffer either way. They'll have their members who are like coming right back right out of the gate. But they're still going to lose a lot of their revenue because a lot of those members aren't going to come back. Some not right away, and some not at all. Right. But on that same note, though, again, this industry has changed. It's given trainers a chance to expand online, including myself. It's given software companies, like a famous one is called MindBody, where it's like a really well-known gym software that you can like find a gym in your area near you, book a class online, book an appointment online now they have to. So a lot of gyms are already on it, but the gyms that weren't on it, like our gym, P4P, wasn't on it before this. And now they absolutely are, because they have to be. Right. So in some scenarios, like these software companies, there's a lot out there. Like there's so many. Like the ads on my Instagram are insane. It's like, oh, there's another one. And another one, and another one. Some of them are pretty cool. Some of them are just like, that's a stupid name.
So I think that this sort of topic is like a perfect segue into one of the segments that we're just starting, right? Place your bets, right? So we want to talk about, so we're going to pick one side or another. If you could only do one for the rest of your life, which would you do? Would you rather only do cardiovascular training, like long-term endurance cardiovascular training, or would you rather do strength training, working out with weights?
Well, before we answer that question, you have to, strength training is very, like, do you mean weight training or just specifically strength?
Weight training.
Weight training, okay. Because strength training is very specific. Weight training can kind of encompass all those things. And in my opinion, if I had to choose, I would 100% choose weight training, just because, like I just said, there are multiple facets within that. When you mean cardio, if you mean specifically long runs, I'm not a fan of long runs. I'll get my cardio in different ways.
I hate long runs.
Yeah, I'll get my cardio.
Some people love them.
Yeah,
right. Like runners, joggers,
cyclists, ultra marathoners, people who like compete to run like 100 miles and like, or Ironmans, whatever. And honestly, awesome, good for them. Not necessarily for me. So I would choose weight training just because, yes, you can train muscle mass. You can train for endurance still by up in the reps. You can do some conditioning and inadvertently work cardio with weights. And you can also build your strength up, right? There's a lot of different ways you can do that. Granted, I'd miss Muay Thai because I guess cardio would be considered
That's true.
Muay Thai. But again, unfortunately. But if I had to choose between the two, I'd rather have my weights.
Now that you're bringing up no Muay Thai.
I mean, if you consider, I mean, unless you consider Muay Thai like a...
No, you got to consider that to be more cardio.
Conditioning. Yeah. I mean, I'd miss it, but there are ways around it that I've learned.
Yeah. You just start holding dumbbells and start doing Muay Thai with dumbbells.
There we go.
Strength training.
It's not as fun as hitting pads, but
weight training. Yeah. Now that you threw that wrench in there.
Yeah, I knew that got you. You didn't think about that when you answered made this question up, did you?
No, I did not. I am going to go. You know what? If I had to do it for the rest of my life, I'm gonna side with you. I think I'm gonna go with the weight training, only because I feel like once we get like older, around like our 50s and 60s, I think Muay Thai is going to be harder to do in general.
Yeah, it's going to be not as exciting for us and just difficult on our bodies, right? So
yeah.
At least if you can bulletproof your body with weight training, if you do it properly.
Yeah. Plus, as you age, you're going to need like that muscular strength to keep your bones healthy, your joints healthy, and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
So, I think I'm gonna have to side with you on that one.
Yeah. Goodbye, pads. It's a good thing this isn't real, eh?
Yeah.
I'd probably still be very depressed.
We have the best of both worlds.
Yeah. I'd definitely be like in my like 30s doing weights, but like sneaking into like a Muay Thai gym, like
just watching them,
like a drug addict.
Yeah.
Itching a little bit. It's like, you got any more of them pad rounds out there?
Yeah.
Cue Dave Chappelle. Trademark Dave Chappelle's crack addict character.
Yeah.
Oh man,
what was his name? Do you remember?
No idea.
Oh, I can't remember either. Anyways, so we're gonna finish up with a recurring segment every week.
Yeah.
What are you fighting for this week, Robbie?
I am fighting for people to I mean, obviously York region, they're already there, but people in Toronto. Most of my Instagram followers are from Toronto because I look at my insights. Mm-hmm. I'm fighting for these people to get back into their fitness routine if they haven't already. If you're one of those people who can't wait for the gym to open, I suggest obviously follow your protocol safely, still flatten the curve, but get back in there, support your local gym, especially if it's like an actual boutique, family run or individual run studio or something like that. Versus a Good Life. I recommend you do whatever you can to get back in that routine. Mm-hmm. It'll be good for your physical health, mental health, emotionally, everything else. I'm fighting for people to get back into their fitness routine.
Mine's going to be a little bit different. I thought of mine a little bit ahead of time. So I'm thinking about going... we recently had our brother and my sister-in-law over. And I'm just thinking about hospitality. I think that hospitality is sometimes lost on people. I think that everyone's moving around too fast these days and not necessarily thinking about just being a good host. I think being a good host is such an important thing in life. Treating people as kings and queens, right? When you have people over, I think it's incumbent upon you to really go out there and do your best for those people, right? And I think that just goes back to how I was raised. Coming from a Lebanese background, hospitality is a big thing in that culture. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a really important thing to keep going on in the future. I
completely agree. Being a good host is definitely underrated.
Yeah.
Coming from a person who's had you be my host versus other people who shall remain nameless, who do not know how to be hosts.
Yeah, if you're having people over for dinner, it shouldn't be like, oh, can you bring the food and the booze and the chairs too and the tables?
I mean, good friends should bring their own things as well, but as the host, it is almost an unspoken rule that it's your responsibility to have at least a good portion of the things ready for people, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, everybody, we're going to end this podcast there. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. I am Robbie.
I am Jackson.
And this is Two Friends Fighting, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
Of course, that is a handsome, pretty sentence, so... There was this decline right there. It's like, oh, that's the same thing.
I'm handsome, I'm pretty, I'm attractive, I'm beautiful.